Good morning.
Good morning.
This is the regular board meeting for Tuesday, September 17th, and we need somebody to call the roll.
Renee?
President Hudley Hayes,
Here.
Vice President DeLuгit,
Here.
Commissioner Babcock, Commissioner Hara,
Here.
Commissioner Words Gray,
Here.
Chief Deputy Orrin Saunders,
Here.
Deputy City Attorney Linda Nguyen.
Here. Thank you. Chief Saunders, can you start us off?
Sure. Please stand
Thank you.
for the Pledge of Allegiance. Place your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And please join me in a moment of silence in honor of past and present members of the Los Angeles Fire Department who devote their lives to the protection of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. We are now to that point where we have commission comments. Commissioners?
Oh, Dr. Hart, I'd love to hear you first.
Dr. Harr?
Try to see what I
Yeah.
missed.
A lot of events since, it's been a while since our last board meeting. But on September the 5th, I attended the graduation event of the recruit class 23-5 at the Orpheum. You know, it was a great event. And the following day, I went to the promotional ceremony at Hotchkins, and actually it was interesting in that there were a lot of engineers and a lot of apparat, AOs that along with the typical captains 1 and 2, and then the brass as well, and then they also honored the civilian employees as well. And then on 9/11, I went to the event at the Fallen Firefighter Memorial with the Historical Society. And in that, it was actually interesting. They had the flyer that they used for everyone said that heaven needs a fire department. So they took 343 of our New York firefighters to create a fire department. So, and then at Hotchkins, I attended the event there as well, where the mayor was there and the fire chief and the chief of police and the sheriff's department as well, and it was well represented, and as usual, a very moving event. And then just this past Saturday, I also attended the Youth Academy graduation, the Harbor area Youth Academy graduation at Station 40. And my understanding is this is the last time it's going to be used. They're going to use that drill tower for training. So it's a memorial event in that regard as well. And great remarks by Chief Gutierrez at that event.
Okay. Thank you.
Good morning.
Commissioner Woods Gray?
Good morning.
Good morning.
It seems it's wonderful to see everybody. It's been a while. I wanted to acknowledge and celebrate National Hispanic Heritage Month. with so much going on in the world today, and especially in the United States of America, I just want to make sure that all of our firefighters know that we appreciate and value them, and we stand behind them, and we are so happy to have the diversity that we have in our department, and we're looking to have even more. I also want to thank Fire Station 66's Advanced Provider Unit, who provided services for me and my family this past week, and they did an excellent job. They were calm, collected, and came in and did their job and went about their business. And it worked really good because they didn't have to bring a big fire truck with them. They only bought the little van and the ambulance, which they didn't really need. And so it saved. I think that's a savings. I like the way that worked. And we had all the great medical professionals there, from the paramedics to the nurse practitioner to a whole crew. And I thought I was glad to see it in action because we've talked about it so much. And we've also talked about expanding it. And it may be something that we really need to look at expanding because it does sound like it could save money. Thank you very much, and I'm glad to be back.
Thank you. Commissioner.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'd like to, a few things. One, recognize Leticia. I know she's not here today, but we have someone new. Nice to meet you. But just want to recognize Leticia. Hopefully we'll be able to do so in a more formal setting, but oftentimes, we forget the backbone of organizations like this. And I know since my time on the commission, she was integral to ensuring that we were successful in our role here. So thank you to her. It was an honor to attend the 9/11 event with a few fellow commissioners the other day. So thank you for the wonderful work that the LAFD puts into that as we continue to honor 23 years since that devastating day. I was actually at the U.S. Capitol on that day, so it's a very meaningful time, and it's an honor to be serving in the Fire Commission in that capacity. And finally, the ASCOT 5K is September 28th. I think there's a few people that wanted to have me hand over checks to at the 5K, so happy to do that. It does support the LAFD Cadet Academy at Wilson High School in my backyard there in Hillside Village. So anybody that would like for me to take some money and donate it over, happy to do so. That's it for me.
Can you send me the link again?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. I'm going to make a comment, and then Vice President DeLuca is going to make one. I'm happy to be back, too. We've not been having regular commission meetings during the summer, so I hope everybody had a great time, had good vacations. I'm hoping that all of you maybe had an opportunity to have some vacations, because I know how hard you work, and we're glad to be back. And we'll be here to harass you now every other week. I attended the memorial service, and I have to tell you, every time I go, I am struck by the work that goes into that, the solemnness of that event, how well it's put together. But I was more struck this year than ever, and I think Commissioner Woods Gray touched upon it. We were all there celebrating a horrific thing that happened to our country. And we came all together, and it made me think about the divisiveness that we find in our country today. And I was actually in tears. And the guy next to me handed me a tissue. I think he couldn't figure out what I was crying about. But I looked out, and I looked at all of us, first responders, safety, all colors, probably multiple languages. But we came together as Americans to celebrate a really traumatic thing that happened to our country. And I looked at all of us, and I thought to myself, this is really what America is all about. Different people from different walks of life. The bagpipes, which I love. I don't know about anybody else, but I just love them. And I just wanted to make that comment, that here we are, we're in an election cycle. I hope everybody votes. I'm not telling you who to vote for, but I want you to vote. But we were celebrating, it struck me this time, we were celebrating as Americans. I hugged people. I think other people were struck like I was by the moment that morning. And I just wanted to say how respectful I am to be a part of the fire department, because I know you guys don't think it, but I think I'm part of the fire department. I think I'm a sworn person in the fire department.
Well, you do swear.
What? Yeah, we do. Of course we do. We're not sworn like you guys are, but we do swear and say we're going to support. So I'm very respectful of that. I'm very glad about that. I'm very proud of that. And I was absolutely proud to be a part of the Los Angeles Fire Department on that day, more so than any other. It's not that the others weren't great, but there was something about this one when I turned around and looked at people, and I just was looking across, and all the people that normally give me a hug were there and gave me a hug. So thank you very much for that celebration. I know it takes a lot to put that together. So I'd like to thank them and the inclusiveness that I saw. And I really, really, this year more than ever, because I'm scared for the country, and I'm scared for our democracy and our Constitution and our, just a nation of laws. I am nervous about all of that, and that actually made me understand why we live in the country that we live in. So I want to thank everybody for that day, and I wanted everybody to understand how impactful that was to me. So that's my comment. Thank you. Vice President DeLucich.
Thank you. Yes, I just want to, I'm going to try to not get too emotional, but it's too late. I want to extend my gratitude and amazement to firefighters all over, our firefighters and all over Southern California for their work on the 3 fires that have been raging. Sorry, I don't know why because my cabin's okay. Many of you know that I have a little tiny government leased cabin in the San Bernardino National Forest, and right smack in the middle of the line fire. And it's been a very long 10 days. My cabin is sort of right where they're having a hard time putting the fire out. But I just feel like I put my life in the firefighters' hands, and they've been so, you all and they all have been so amazing, and many of the firefighters have been evacuated themselves and still show up, every day, every night to work on putting out that fire in initially really, really, really impossible conditions. So today's the first day I saw a picture of clear air in Big Bear by the lake, and I feel like we're finally out of the woods, but I've never had I've never been so dependent on firefighters, and really so grateful, and getting their briefings and hearing them say we got this, and just, whew. Anyway, thank you so much. Thank you.
Good. Okay. So we're going to get on with the meeting, but I think that this coming back together helps you to understand how the 5 of us feel about representing the Los Angeles Fire Department and being a part of the Los Angeles Fire Department, from the things that Commissioner Babcock said to Commissioner Woods Gray. Again, before we start, want to say that I am amazed at Commissioner Hara. He goes to everything. He shows up for everything. He is just a cheerleader for the Los Angeles Fire Department. He has been doing this for years and years and years and years, but he is just comes, he shows up, he's happy to be there. He is so respectful of what goes on. Also because, I don't know, many of you know that Vice President DeLucich is also the Chief of Staff to the President of the School Board, Jackie Goldberg, and she takes time out of that busy schedule, and I'm mainly looking at Chief Dixon, because he knows what that feels like, to be Chief of Staff to a boss that's very busy, busy, busy.
So we're going to go ahead. Apparently, we are all feeling emotional this morning about being here. But I hope that what this does is that it demonstrates to those of you that we're looking at and to those of us, those of people that are hearing us, that we really take what we do seriously. We really do join with the Los Angeles Fire Department. We're not here in an adversarial role. We're not here to want to have combat with you. We are here to support our fire chief. We're here to support the department. We have different jobs, different things that we have to do. Sometimes we ask things, and I'm sure you people say, well, why are those little pesky people, asking us all those questions? But we're going to move on, and for some reason, we just all are feeling happy to be here, and obviously more emotional than we usually are, because we're usually not. So we're going to move on now to our public, if everybody's done with their comments, we're going to move on to our public comment. And our first person is, it says Audit LA, but it doesn't have a name. Okay, come, please come. And then when you get there, just give us your name. 'Cause- Oh, okay, all right.
Good morning, you have me crying with your comment, Madam President, and I think they're very blessed to have you. I'm honored as a person from LA to have your heart for the firefighters, because you know what I feel in this room right now? I feel safe because I am surrounded by people who will run into a burning building should I need them to, rather than run out. And I've been through a forest fire where I had to be evacuated, and I almost had my house burned down as a child, and I gave a year of my time to the local fire department because they came out as volunteers at 3 a.m. to put out a fire so we didn't burn down. So I thank you, all chiefs and every firefighter. I have so much love for you, and I'm sorry I'm using up my time, but I'm sorry you have me choking up.
You're just as emotional as the rest of us, so here's what's going to happen. Your 3 minutes starts now.
Oh, thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
And also my love and respect to everyone who perished in 9/11.
Helpful firefighters, somebody can find her a tissue wash.
I know, I'm sorry. It's like I'm very emotional. You see all these uniforms and these wonderful, brave people, and I'm just like, I'm choking up. Sorry, I'm usually pretty tough, but I'm losing it today.
Keep talking. We're gonna-
Okay, so here we go. I'm here because of a fire situation on L. Ron Hubbard Way. Okay, they are getting permit after permit after permit, and on their permit, they are demanded that they have to keep a 20-foot fire lane. Okay, and I am concerned, as having been through a fire and almost two fires actually. I am concerned that they are disobeying those orders. They have planter cement barricades, and on both ends. And the one end you can't even get through at all. On the other end, on the north end, you could get a ambulance through or a small rig through, but not directly. They would have to sit there and work hard to do their zigzag through the planters to get to you. And I just want to ask anyone here, if it was your home burning down or your family at risk, or if there was somebody that you loved having a trauma and they have their golden hour, would you want their ambulance or their fire truck to have to zigzag and be slowed down to get to you, to your family? I do not live on that street, but my heart is for, thank you, sorry, is for everyone who does, including the people who live in the Scientology building. It is cracking. It's got like I don't know how many, if it's 8 stories now, crack, and that thing could come down. The last 2 quakes, they've had damage. And all I can think of is that the people in there who don't make the decisions on whether or not to remove those blockades, they can't, but you can. And I'm coming here and I'm begging you to please open up the fire lane. They are not above the law. They are not above public safety. And as somebody who has been through fire, I don't want to see anyone harmed, and I don't want to see anyone needing an ambulance. And if they need, like, say if there is another earthquake and say the building does come down, And you're not going to get they might get a small truck through there. You're not going to get a ladder truck through there. And that's a 4 to 8 story building. And they're cutting down intentionally on golden hour, like if there's a trauma. And it would be easy to have a trauma there. So I am begging you to please have that fire lane respected and to make them open that up. If they want to have the permits, that's their business. But we need our fire lane opened up, please.
Okay.
And thank you to all of you, and especially all you chiefs. Sorry, I got emotional, but.
Guess what? We have your letter.
Oh, you do?
We do. So we're going to make sure that it comes to someone's attention and it gets looked into. But you sent the fire commissioner a
I don't
letter.
know if I'd be able to get here on time, but it means so much to me that I got up here and I thankfully I made it down.
Yep.
And I just want to say that I'm going to thank this chief's son who actually rescued, I love animals too, and he rescued a cat when it's first day of his, as a firefighter. So I want to thank everyone in this room.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. Our next public speaker is Lee. I just see Lee. No first name or last name. I apologize for not using your full name. Can you stand right there by the microphone?
Sure.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commission. I'd like to talk to you about the nickname Digital Debbie, the correct name Digital Voice Network, I think it is. It doesn't simulcast. It needs to it can't simulcast. We need to go back to it. Commissioner Les Fisher invented simulcast. That's where it currently comes over a telephone wire that runs to the station directly. If you're in the field, you have no idea what's going on. The old way, what Commissioner Fisher did, it would go both on the radio and the station audio both. So if a unit could clear 2 blocks away, they'd hear OCRA 60, we're 2 blocks away. We can clear and take that run. It don't do that with Digital Debbie. And a lot of times they supposedly simulcast. They don't. It's repeat. Sometimes the guys at OCD are either too busy or just too lazy to do it. They need to go back to the human dispatching. It works way better. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we're done with anybody else that didn't sign a comment card or came too late? No, we're good? Okay. We're now going to move into the election of officers. I think, is this not where I turn it over to you? Don't I turn it over to somebody?
Normally our clerk handles that. You have that ready, Renee?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Nominations for the office of president of the board are now in order. Are there any nominations?
Yes, Madam Clerk. I nominate Janithia Huntley Hayes for president.
Second. Or do we need a second? No.
Yes.
Nomination.
Uh-huh. Those in favor of closing nominations, please say yes.
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 Commissioner Hudley Hayes is nominated to the office of president. Those in favor of electing Commissioner Hudley Hayes as president of the board, please say yes.
Yes.
The ayes have it, and Commissioner Hudley Hayes is declared as the office of president.
Ooh, very good. Congratulations. Very.
Nominations for the office of vice president of the board are now in order. Are there any nominations?
I'd like to renominate our current vice president, and she's done a great job, and I'd like to see her continue.
Is there a second?
A second?
Nominations for the office of vice president. Those in favor of closing nominations, please say yes.
Yes.
Commissioner DeLugit is the nominee of the office of vice president. Those in favor of electing Commissioner DeLugit as vice president, please say yes.
Yes.
The ayes have it, and Commissioner DeLugit is declared elected to the office of vice president.
Thank you.
Yay. Congratulations.
Hi there. As the president again. And I want to thank my commissioners for trusting me and, because that's a big honor, that everybody here is so committed and dedicated to the fire department. It's an honor to be elected again by your colleagues. So we are going to now move on to item number 4, which is report of the fire chief and Deputy Chief Saunders.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I will be going over the Fire Chief Crowley's events and meetings from August 26th to September 17th. Starting off August 26th to September 2nd, the Fire Chief traveled to Paris for the Paralympic Games Observer Program. And this Observer Program is an initiative that allows various stakeholders to observe the operations and management of the Paralympic Games firsthand. The program plays a crucial role in the transferring of knowledge between the current and future event hosts, knowing that we'll have that here in Los Angeles in 2028. On September 5th, recruit class 23-5 had a graduation at the Orpheum Theater. 52 recruits graduated to our ranks of probationary firefighters. It was an historic venue and appropriate for such an event with our probationary firefighters. And on September 6th, LAFD promotional ceremony at Frank Koch Memorial Training Center. A large group of our members were recognized, 117 members, 108 sworn, and 9 civilian members recognized for their promotionals, their last promotions within the fire department. And on September 11th at Frank Koch Memorial Training Center, again, a well-attended and always a moving ceremony for our 9/11 ceremony. September 13th to 14th, the fire chief was in San Diego for the Women in Fire Service International Conference of 2024. The fire chief spoke on a panel and participated in various training sessions. And finally, the chief traveled, is just traveling right now, left September 17th to the Urban Fire Forum in Boston, and partnering with the NFPA, National Fire Protection Association, discuss current and fire service challenges and strategies. And that concludes the fire chief's events through this notable period.
Thank you, Chief Saunders. We're now moving on to item B, and, well, there you already are there. Hi.
Good morning, ma'am.
And can you hang on 1 minute?
Yes, ma'am.
I understand, Chief Dixon, that we're just going to have people come, so I won't have to call them, so we're going to have 3 people who are going to come. So after you give your report, whoever the next person is, can you just come, and then the next person come?
Yes,
How's
ma'am.
that?
We have it taken care of.
Thank you.
All right. Good morning, Madam President, Commissioners, Chief Saunders, Deputy City Attorney, and Renee. My name is Philip Flegel. I'm the Deputy Chief in charge of Operations West Bureau, and I have an incident here to share with you that occurred on September 5th, 2024. At 10:49 a.m., LAFD firefighters and paramedics responded to a reported construction worker that was trapped in a trench in the 2300 block of North Catalina Street, which is located in Fire Station 35's first and Council District 4. LAFD firefighters and paramedics were on scene within 3 minutes and 10 seconds. The first arriving LAFD resources found an adult male construction worker that was conscious and alert and trapped up to his chest in a 8-foot deep trench near a hillside home. Multiple resources were requested, which included the department's urban search and rescue resources. All 6 of them, by the way, eventually showed up there. And 2 vacuum trucks from the city of, from the department's sanitation department, or the city sanitation department. Firefighters and paramedics immediately stabilized the trench walls, the patient, and the overall construction site to allow LAFD first responders, specially trained and equipped with confined space operations, to swiftly commence the rescue within the trench. I want you to listen to this one now. After 6 hours and a relentless effort in oppressive 104-degree temperatures, 86 firefighters and first responders seamlessly worked in a nonstop rotation of every 15 minutes to get the adult released and successfully removed from the trench. In serious condition, he was transported by LAFD paramedics to the Regional Training Trauma Center. 2 LAFD rescuers were treated at the scene for heat exhaustion, and 1 was later taken to a hospital for further medical evaluation. This incident is an example of the high-risk, low-frequency operations that the LAFD can safely and seamlessly execute in a positive result. It's my opinion that the training, the knowledge, and the dedication of our LAFD search and rescue, urban search and rescue team members is the sole reason why this victim is alive today. This incident, again, highlights how important it is for the citizens of Los Angeles. Should be extremely fortunate to have such a skilled group of professionals on duty 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Additionally, I think this is the first time that all 6 of our urban search and rescue task forces were mobilized for a single incident since the 1994 Northridge earthquake. So a very significant incident with a very positive outcome, and that gentleman walked out of the hospital with minimal injuries after it was all said and done. So a very good incident. Any questions on that incident at all? You know, something I wanted to touch on real quick too, over the last week, and we touched upon it, was the fires that we had in Southern California since Monday. And just wanted to express for the fire chief and for everyone how important that we, as a fire department family throughout the state of California, share resources. And in that commitment, in the time of need for these other fires that we had throughout Southern California, or in Glendora, Highland, and Trabuco Canyon, on Tuesday, the fires actually, most of them started on Monday, Sunday, and Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. By Tuesday, they had a burn rate of 40,000 acres in one 24-hour period. That's a lot of stuff to burn at one time, so there was a need there for sharing resources and assisting. So the LEFD's commitment to that was, since there was not a lot of incidents happening within the city of Los Angeles, we're able to flex our capability with the resources that we have. We sent 109 personnel, 21 fire engines, 5 Type 3 fire engines, and a total of 10 overhead personnel to fires throughout the state of California, mainly the 3 that were down in the Southern California area. Those resources were there for about a week, and they're actually coming home today. So again, just want to highlight how flexible we can be as a fire department, how much value that we show to the region and through the state of California in their time of need. And then hopefully not happens, but if we ever have a time of need, they will be able to assist us as well. That's all I have. Any questions about that at all?
No, but I want to make a comment. This is why we have people come and speak. I know that there are people that listen and they say, why does the commission have people come and talk about incidents? You know, it appears that they're just patting themselves on the back. That is not the case. I don't think that the city actually understands everything. I've said it before, that the Los Angeles Fire Department does, how our resources get stretched, how we have reciprocal agreements with other fire services who are smaller. We provide excellent service, as we've heard this morning. And so I'm going to say it again because we're starting on it again, so I'm going to start harping on it right now. This is why we need to be fully funded. Let me say it again, fully funded. We use resources. We don't always get reciprocal payments back. And so this is when we need to start now talking to your council people. That's what we're here for. We govern. Talking to your council people, talking to the mayor, if you have a way to speak to the mayor. We need to be in every space that we can be in, because this is what we're talking about. When we're talking about the fact that we have things stripped from our budget, because somebody's going line by line and they don't understand what we do, they don't understand that we're a 24/7 organization. I want to shout out to Freddie, who's here, who diligently comes with the fire chief to broker for the budget. But we're getting ready to start a budget cycle, and I'm just going to say over and over again what we need to be doing. We need to be talking to people and making them understand this. We're going to have the World Cup. We're going to have the Olympics. We've got this fire season. Freddie, I want to thank you because I know you go with the mayor where it's management and labor that go together. But I'm saying this out loud for anybody who's listening. We need to be fully funded this time around, completely fully funded. Thank you very much, Chief Legal, for your report.
Thank you, ma'am.
Excuse me, hallelujah, and thank you.
You're welcome.
Good morning, Madam President,
Good morning.
Vice President DeLugich, Commissioners, Chief Deputy Saunders, City Attorney Nguyen, and Ms. Ramirez. And congratulations, Madam President, on your election, and Vice President to your elections and to your positions. Thank you very much. And it's so good to see all 5 of you here. I know some of you have been battling some health concerns, and it's so good to see everyone here back together again. And I'm glad to see everybody's doing well and your health is good. My name is Deputy Chief Jamie Moore. I am very proud to stand before you representing the hardworking men and women of Operations Valley Bureau. And I'm going to highlight a very, if you feel emotional, you're going to be even more emotional after hearing this incident that occurred on September 7th. On September 7th, 2024, at approximately 2:30 in the afternoon, LAFD Engine Company 77 responded to an auto fire on Wheatland Avenue in their first-in district. Upon arrival, they found a Toyota Avalon parked underneath a pepper tree adjacent to a rural residential road surrounded by vegetation. A fire had spread in the light grass underneath the vehicle, causing it to catch fire. As the company arrived on scene, they pulled past the car. The officer directed the crew to deploy a hose line. Flames were visible underneath the vehicle, spreading to the sides, towards the rear, and under the trunk. The fire eventually extended within the rear wheel wells, and items in the cab and the trunk began to ignite. Eventually, the rear of the car was fully engulfed, popping the left rear tire due to direct flame impingement. As the nozzle member prepared to don a facepiece, the fuel tank suddenly ruptured, exploding the pressurized fuel and causing a massive fireball. The fire enveloped the firefighters, apparatus, the engineer, and surrounding vegetation. It was estimated to be about 40 feet in height, 70 feet in diameter, and it was caught on video by a local Ring camera. When the fire receded, 3 firefighters immediately realized that they were burned. The officer picked up the hose line, extinguished the surrounding vegetation in the vehicle fire. Although in a state of shock, the firefighters attempted to continue performing their responsibilities of donning their personal protective equipment and extinguishing the fire. The officer requested additional resources, which resulted in a water tender and another company attaching themselves to the incident in order to assist with the final extinguishment of the fire and control any other hazards that were evident. In the end, 3 firefighters were burned in the explosion. 1 firefighter sustained first and second degree burns to his hands and face. The other second and third degree burns to the hands and first and second degree burns to the face. The engineer suffered first and second degree burns to the top of his hands and first degree burns to his face. All 3 members were eventually transported to the local burn center where they were treated for their injuries and released. The 4th member has been in the hospital for the last 11 days. I am currently waiting for a text message from his wife because I am praying and hoping that he will be going home today and released from the hospital. That is the end of my report on the Wheatland incident, which occurred in the Valley. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
No, thank you very much. Does anybody have a question?
Um,
So, go ahead.
I don't know if it's so much a question as so much a comment. Actually, last week, Engine 16 and Engine 1 responded to my street for a car fire at 2 in the morning where arsonists were created gasoline around the car, and it sounds like a very similar situation. My chocolate Labrador is the one that woke us up, and fortunately, we were allowed to call 911. We were able to call 911. It was my neighbor directly next door, and just the flames that went up in the tree. So while it seems to these arsonists that are out there creating these videos where they may not be thinking they're hurting people because they're just doing it on cars in the middle of the night, obviously, clearly, we have firefighters now in dire situations with burns. They'll never be the same again. So anyone out there that is listening, and I'm sure there is, the arson team is as busy as usual, and even more so. But these things that are happening throughout the city and the continuation of LAPD having their hands tied in certain situations of being able to secure our streets. This is what's happening, and it's happening in all neighborhoods from the Valley to the east side to downtown. This is a huge problem, and we need to have a little bit more strength on the streets again, and that's the bottom line. So thank you for that report.
Thank you, Commissioner.
And I think this goes back to, I think we're all real clear about what we're talking about here, resources. We need to be funded, fully funded. But this goes back to what Mr. Escobar says all the time with the union. Let's make the connection here, just for the viewing public. When we have these things that happen to our people and the trauma that happens, not just to the ones who are actually burned, but to all of us as a family when we lose people. This is why we're talking about we need second turnouts. Am I right, Freddie? This is why, the smoke happens, and we're still waiting for those kinds of things. This is why we need for our rigs to get out of maintenance and back on the street, which is what Commissioner Babcock is talking about. Maybe this is a wonderful time, and we're just all feeling very emotional about it, but maybe this is a wonderful time to continue to say over and over again, this is why we need to be fully funded, because these things are going to continue to happen. I think Commissioner Babcock is absolutely correct. So thank you very much, and yeah, you did kind of get us all cheered up a little bit. So could you just send us as commissioners just a text?
Absolutely.
Can-
I will let you know.
Without a Brown Act, if he just sends us a text about
Or an
that
email,
our
yeah.
firefighter will be coming home? Can you just send us all a text to let
I
us know?
will let you all know. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Woo-hoo.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Madam President, congratulations again. Madam Vice President, congratulations. Members of the board, Chief Saunders, Acting Commander-in-Chief, Mrs. Nguyen, hello again. I'm Melford Beard, Assistant Chief Operations Central Bureau, B Platoon, representing Chief Fields, Operations Central Bureau Commander. At 3:43 a.m. on September 13, 2024, the Los Angeles Fire Department responded to a reported structure fire at 712 New Depot Street in Chinatown. The first arriving fire company found a 3-story apartment building under construction, fully involved in fire, and extended into one of the 3 exposed buildings. With heavy fire showing an exposed building on the east side, which was 877 North Bunker Hill, firefighters immediately engaged in an offensive fire attack. Simultaneously, crews extended the offensive attack to other exposed buildings and established a defensive fire attack against the building under construction. Additional resources arrived, raising the incident to a major emergency status. Those crews reinforced the efforts underway, conducting fire attack on all 3 floors of 877 North Bunker Hill, while also performing primary searches through every unit to ensure all occupants safely evacuated. The functioning smoke alarms alerted residents, providing early notice and allowing most to escape unharmed. Firefighters working on the exposed building on the west and the south of the main building limited damage to those structures. Over 130 firefighters worked seamlessly across this complex incident involving 4 structures. A full extinguishment of fire in all buildings was achieved in 1 hour and 36 minutes. Knockdown was at 05:21 a.m. 4 patients were treated during the course of this incident. 2 patients were transported, with one of them in critical condition. One of them is still at the local hospital. 2 other patients were assessed, treated, and released on scene. In total, approximately 121 residents evacuated from the residential exposures, with 51 requiring temporary shelter. 2 LFD members reported minor injuries and received first care. Cause is still under investigation by our LAFD arson unit. Our commitment of resources, like we talked about, making sure we are fully staffed, 27 fire companies, 17 RAs, 4 battalion chiefs, 1 assistant commander, myself, Assistant Chief Beard, and the operations chief was BC Gross. Specialized units, arson, emergency air, heavy rescue 3, assisting agencies in the city, LAPD, DOT, DWP, Street Services, American Red Cross, Building and Safety, Southern Cal Gas, EMD. I'd like to commend the members of UFLAC and this fine organization for extinguishing this fire, keeping it kind of confined to the general area, but also evacuating the Bravo exposure. It was a very challenging fire, I can honestly say. My commander behind me, Chief Hing, showed up, and also Chief Field showed up, and we extinguished the fire, and it just shows how profound our LFD is. Any questions?
Do we know how it started?
It's still under investigation, ma'am.
Thank you.
We have our arson task force out there. Also, if you saw the news, ATF combined in the investigation.
Thank you.
What time did this fire occur? I think it's,
It was at 03:42 a.m. in the morning, ma'am.
and what time is that?
3:42.
Thank you.
Yes, 3:42.
The reason I ask is because I know that we made some changes to the arson department's schedule over the years, and and a lot of these fires occur at night when there's a strange type of a schedule for arson. And we really need to rethink that and look at it. Of course, as the president has said, full funding is the key, but sometimes the scheduling in arson, we need to really look at that because they're having a lot of calls here recently. Because every time I see on television, it says, an arson is coming call, because we generally think it's maybe the unhoused or some strange thing like that has happened. But arson, that's something that needs to be rethought because of the nature of when these fires are occurring.
The administration is definitely looking into the deployment model of arson and reviewing what that looks like and continue to review the model.
Also, we've scheduled the arson report, have we not, Chief Dixon? Aren't we scheduled to have the arson report come, I think, like in November, 17th of November, I think, Commissioner Woods Gray? So we'd been thinking about that, and we're going to slot it in so that we can get, there's been a full report done, a new manual, and it'll be coming to commission, I believe, the second meeting of November. Am I right?
And will that include the changes that Chief Saunders is contemplating, or you guys are thinking about?
I don't know, but at least when it comes, then Commissioner Woods Gray and all the rest of us can ask questions because
Right.
we'll have that full report.
Well,
My
maybe-
understanding is that it's like 216 pages.
Well, since the department, or since the chief knows that we're interested in the hours and deployment model,
you
it doesn't
put
have to
it
be
in?
part of the report, but just let's make sure we hear about that, so we don't have to, come in with questions, just know that we want to know about that. Thank you.
Okay.
Last thing for the board, just to let you know, currently, we're in the recovery phase. The fine men and women of the LAFD are assisting the outside agencies, EMD and Red Cross on rehousing the folks over at 877 Bunker Hill. So it's not just putting out fires, we also assist with the recovery phase on helping the city family and our residents.
Okay. Thank you very
Report.
much. Right.
Thank you.
Are we, Chief Dixon, was that all of all of B and C? Or we still have C to go? So we're going to have the medical emergencies for that same period.
Good morning, Madam
morning.
President, Vice President. Congratulations on your re-elections. Commissioners, Chief Deputy Saunders, Deputy City Attorney, Renee, command staff, and guests. My name is Tim Werfel. I'm currently assigned as the Assistant Chief of Metropolitan Fire Communications, but today I'm representing the EMS Bureau, and I have the pleasure of sharing an incident that highlights the excellent work our sworn dispatchers, firefighters, and paramedics do day in and day out. On the early afternoon of Sunday, August 18th, in Northridge at the Costco Tire Center, a 59-year-old male suffered a cardiac arrest. Bystanders on scene quickly contacted 911 and were connected with one of our sworn dispatchers. The dispatcher was able to verify the address and phone number. He recognized that the person was in cardiac arrest. He then sent the appropriate resources, which included Engine and Rescue Ambulance 104. While they drove to the incident, the dispatcher instructed the bystanders to retrieve an automatic external defibrillator that was at Costco and provided CPR emergency instructions over the phone that the bystanders performed. Before the ambulance and engine arrived, the patient was defibrillated and converted to a normal heart rhythm. At that time, the engine and rescue arrived. They loaded the patient into the ambulance and began transporting to the hospital. The patient then went into cardiac arrest 2 additional times and was defibrillated twice by our paramedics. The patient then regained spontaneous circulation. Once at the hospital, the patient was treated, and I'm happy to report, after a short stay in the hospital, was released directly to home with no neurodeficits. The CLO's office is looking to possibly reunite the member and the members of Fire Station 104 and the dispatcher in the future. So thank you for this opportunity to share this great outcome incident, and I look forward to getting to know all of you better soon. Thank you.
Thank you. We want to congratulate you because we know you're going to EMS.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is your first shot.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I just also wanted to.
Commissioner DeLucich.
Yes, I was just also going to congratulate Chief Werfel. I don't have a question for you. We spent a lot of time together at the Emergency Operations Center, whatever it's called now. What's it called now?
Metropolitan Fire Communications.
Yes, yes. Anyway, I really appreciate your knowledge and sharing your knowledge with me. So glad to see you in this new spot.
Thank you. I'm proud to be from there. The men and women that work at the dispatch center do a tremendous job these past weeks. In addition to the department being stretched with, sending resources to the brush fires, we had one of the highest call loads I've ever seen in my time at the dispatch center. We had over 4,000 phone calls into the dispatch center in a 24-hour period. So some incredible work that's being done over there also.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So that's a whole other thing that we need to talk about during the budget cycle, because that's 24/7.
Yes, ma'am.
We have to have people there 365 days a year, 24 hours a day to do what they do. And that is another thing that the city doesn't really understand when we're talking about resourcing the fire department. I just don't think, at some point in time, it's not pressing, but, Chief Dixon, maybe at some point in time, we would just need to have, it would be great if we could have a report about everything that the Los Angeles Fire Department does that is not ever included. People tend to think that all we do is fight fires and go out on EMS calls, and there's so much more that the fire department does. There's so much more that the fire department does where we do not get funded for, that people forget when we're doing crowd control for parades. We do stuff for Cycla-V. We do all kinds of other things, and so it's not a pressing issue, Chief Dixon, but kind of now that I'm settled and we're all settled, with this kind of hybrid new commission, it might be a good idea if we could just have just 10 minutes. We don't need to have a big report, but just 10 minutes for people to understand the breadth of what the Los Angeles Fire Department does at some future time. I think Commissioner DeLucich wants to.
Well, yes, just because it is such an amazing, what goes on at the Metro Fire Communications site is so amazing and it's so well organized. It's just mind-boggling. I think we should have a commission meeting there sometime and people can see it and experience it. Why not? We have traveling meetings sometimes.
Yes, we do.
So I will be talking to you about that.
Thank you.
Right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
So you can strut your stuff, or they can strut their stuff.
Yeah.
And Commissioner
Which is not a bad
DeLucich, we
idea,
could have,
Commissioner
we could have lunch there, because they have a wonderful Fire Station 4.
Tell me about it.
A kitchen that cooks over there.
How well I know.
Yeah.
We can move our commission meetings
So this
around,
is,
right?
of
course
I
we
think
can.
this is just the second year we're settling in, and that may not be a bad idea.
It's
but
a
we'll
good
have to-
idea.
It's a good idea, excuse me. That's a good idea. So we can talk to our legal counsel and see if that's possible for us to have a commission meeting there so that people really understand what's going on. Okay, so thank you very much for that report. We are now on to item 6, which is our consent agenda, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Wow. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We have 13 reports on consent. Of those 13, does anybody need anything to be pulled? Commissioner Babcock?
Yeah, not necessarily pulled, but I am looking at items I, report on the Sixth Amendment with Apple One for temporary staffing, and then item L, an interim budget request for 7 civilian positions. I know one of the issues that we've seen come to the board numerous times is the back pay, overtime pay that has not been resolved, and I'm not sure where we're at with that, and I know that would need to be agendized, but I do see that there are, in item L, some civilian positions and the personnel analysis and whatnot, and those seem to be a little bit more focused around the ongoing litigation that happens, looks like more frequently related to work environmental issues, but then hoping maybe that item I with the Apple One services will help fulfill some of this need that we have on the civilian side on pushing through the hires, back pay with the department of 3,800 plus, and our firefighters should at least be getting paid, and I know how much that can impact a family. So just want to bring those 2 items up as attention, and again, I'm not sure if those will fulfill exactly what UFLAC has been coming forward to tell us, but I do see them here, and so for the public's knowledge, just wanted to kind of pull that out from there as hopefully something that is going to address our backfill on the numerous issues that LAFD has faced with a department of this size and caliber. It's larger than most multi-billion-dollar corporations. So back to the president's point of being fully funded, I hope the city council continues to hear that if this city is going to continue to be as great as it is, we need to be fully funded on all of this, and to be asking for an interim budget request and temporary staffing, that's all filling a hole, but it seems like there's a bigger problem to face. So we'll continue to keep, at least I will continue to keep an eye and hear from all parties on that. So thank you.
Why don't we take those off consent? I think that's a good idea to hear those, and maybe we can just, if there's others, if everyone agrees the rest are on consent, we can just have everything but I and L.
You mean pull them off for discussion?
So maybe what we
Yeah,
need to do,
for discussion.
Commissioner Babcock and Commissioner DeLucich, is combine these 2 and ask, even though you're not asking for it right now,
Right.
but ask for a report.
Yeah, because I don't want to hold up anything that's going to go, especially on item L, that's going to, adopt or go to city or whatever needs to go to approval. I don't want to hold anything up, but I just at least want to
Right.
know that, we see these items here, we're able to read the reports, but I think, again, it's part of a larger issue that I'd like to see.
Well, isn't the department prepared to report on those today? Can't
What?
we just hear them today? Can we just?
Well, we can pull them and we can hear. You want to hear each one of these? We
Yeah.
can pull. Do you want to do that?
Maybe just a brief update on them, and then if we want
Okay.
I
to,
think,
yeah.
just not have those on consent, and let's discuss them.
Right. Okay, so we're going to pull I and we're going to pull L.
Okay.
And the rest of them, let's have a vote on all the rest of them. We're pulling out I and we're pulling out L.
Yes.
So can I get a motion to accept the others with the recommendations? Do I have to read the recommendations?
Just say all these, you can say a motion to move all consent agenda items except items I and L.
So moved.
She just said it.
I
All in
second.
favor?
Aye.
Okay, so the motion carries. So now, let's have someone come and talk to us about I. Is there somebody here that can do it?
Yep,
Uh,
here they come.
Oh, here she comes.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Lauren Nakasuji. I'm a senior management analyst in the administrative services.
And you talk very softly.
Well, go down, all the way down.
Put the microphone down. Can somebody help her get it down? What are you people doing?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Is this better?
Better.
I'm Laura Nakasuji. I'm a senior management analyst in the Administrative Services Bureau, and I work on the department's contracts. So the Apple One contract, what the department did back in 2020 is we piggybacked off of the city clerk's request for proposal. And the city clerk released a new RFP in 2021, so we're waiting for them to execute their new contracts. But they're having a delay in getting their new contracts approved. So that's why the fire department's been extending and amending the current contract. So the budget for the Apple One, the temporary employees is only $100,000 per fiscal year. Last fiscal year, we spent about $296,000 for the temp services. And so since it's because of the budget deficits, we're limited to only $100,000. The problem the department's facing is that we've had a difficult time trying to fill our vacancies. So last year, or for this current fiscal year, 72 of our vacant civilian positions were cut. And so there's been more of a reliance on or request to use the Apple One temp services, but it's gotten to the point where we can no longer afford it. So,
What do you mean we can no longer afford it?
well, we're limited to $100,000.
And we've reached $100,000?
Yeah, last fiscal year, we spent $296,000. So we were over.
So what does that mean? We're capped at 100,000. We spent 269,000, right? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, 296,000.
Okay. So the extra that we spent, where did that money come from?
The department has to look for savings in either our contractual services account or savings in other accounts. Our budget section will, see where.
So the underfunding has forced us now to use our cap, and then our budget gets cut, and then we have to figure out how to fill up, how to backfill. Freddie, is that correct? Somebody, is that what's happening here?
But is that because we have not hired the regular staff that we need to hire, so we have to have someone to do the work?
Right. I mean, let's just pull that out. I mean, I know that you're here and we kind of blindsided you because you didn't know we were going to pull it off. But the point here is we're capped at 100,000. We needed that additional money to continue to provide the services for the city.
Right.
And then
For
we
the
have to go
department.
someplace and find out how to make up that money because somebody cut our budget in those other areas?
No, because it was never budgeted.
Well, these are for civilian positions.
If I can
What
jump
kind
in
of
here.
positions they are. You're
And-
telling me
and-
that it was never budgeted, even though they saw how much money we need.
Yeah, so last year, in last year's budget, we had the flexibility. We actually had authorized positions, and they were vacant. So then we had additional funding. We can move that money to the contractual services and utilize that.
Oh, so you're saying to me that it's somewhere there's fungible money
Correct.
that we can move off of one line and did it work?
Right. Now, last year that did work. The difference this year is we were cut 74 positions.
See.
So now we don't have any cost savings. We don't have any vacant positions where the cost savings would occur. So that's the challenge we're in this year. We had a little more flexibility last year because we did have some positions that were vacant. But as soon as those positions were actually cut, then we're not able to use the cost savings to move that money to the contractual services account.
So is this work that we don't need to have done?
No, this is work that's definitely needed, and having that flexibility from the contractual services really allows us, especially because we've had those 74 positions that were eliminated. So we always use those positions, especially in our brush unit, where we always had additional call takers, additional calls that were coming in from the
And
public.
you really needed those.
Correct, in other areas as well, we're
I
using
get
those
too many
temp
calls
services.
about it.
I see Chief Dixon wants to say something, but I want to say something first, and that is I am generally absolutely opposed to contracted work. We should always give the work to our employees. And I wonder why you think we're having a hard time filling those positions, and what are we doing about changing that reality?
We are so sorry.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tyler Dixon, Deputy Chief, have the pleasure of serving as Chief of Staff. I just want to assist Lauren in answering that one question there. What's before you is a request to authorize the fire chief to execute an extension on the agreement of the Apple One contractor. And to Commissioner DeLuca's point, this is temporary interim staff used when we have a vacancy of a true employee. So there's two purposes for this. One is when somebody exits the department for the purpose of a retirement or promotion to another area, which we have seen a rapid turnover over the last couple of years. There's been a lot of movement throughout the entire city.
Right.
And particularly in our Administrative Services Bureau, the job classifications within the Administrative Services Bureau are the same job classifications across many of the departments throughout the city. So employees have an opportunity to take promotional exams, to request transfers to other departments. And these positions, this contract in particular, is used to hire temporary employees during those interim periods where we are attempting to fill
I see.
the permanent positions. The conversation about the funding is more for informational purposes at this point. The board report that's in front of this body that is requested for approval is to authorize the fire chief to execute an extension on the existing Apple One contract which are contracted interim employees or contractors.
So we are still working to fill those vacancies.
The vacancies that are allowed within the department, yes. To Chief Saunders' point, we did suffer 70 positions that were eliminated from last fiscal year to this fiscal year. But the positions that are vacant, we are working to fill through normal permanent appointment.
So before you go away, talk to us about, you said that there are 70 positions that were cut?
That's correct. There were 70 positions deleted from the previous fiscal year to 24-25.
Was that through attrition or actually cut?
Those were vacant positions that the department had at the time that Chief Saunders described earlier and Lauren described just a minute ago, that the department was in the process of filling those positions. But as part of the budget for 24-25, just about every department in the city had vacant positions eliminated in the 24-25 budget. The fire department had 70 civilian positions.
Yeah, but we're not responsible for every other department in the city.
70 civilian
We're responsible
positions.
for the LAFD. And you're telling me that we had 70 positions just swept,
Civilian positions.
civilian positions,
Yes, ma'am.
without anybody understanding the ripple effect of that. You get 70 civilian positions swept? They're supporting something, correct?
That's correct,
In
ma'am.
some way, those positions are supporting some other work that has to be done that then has to go back to an analyst or executive assistant two, those kinds of things, which means that something is getting stopped. When you leave 70 positions, something, either A, is not getting done, or B, we're using overtime, which is another cost to the city that should not be. So still, we need to, I think Commissioner DeLuca, just to her point and to Commissioner Babcock's point, we really need to know what we're doing. So maybe you can tell us that as well. What are we doing to mitigate that? Is there some plan in place so that we're not having temporary? Because the other thing, to my way of thinking, is when we're using temporary folk, then we're getting people who then have to be trained because they're coming in on a temporary basis. They don't know much about LAFD, am I correct? All of those things we need to be thinking about?
Yes, to answer two of your questions. One is, luckily, on our normal agenda items, we have a report back by our Administrative Services Bureau commander on the budget in totality. So that's probably a good place to have this discussion in a more robust manner. To your second point, Madam President, regarding temporary or contracted interim employees, yes, there is a training requirement of that, but this is a necessary ability for the department in the interim phase while we are attempting to fill these positions with permanent appointments. This allows us flexibility to get additional workload relief during that interim phase. So this is a very necessary contract to have open.
I don't think that Commissioner Babcock was saying that. She said in the beginning, we're not trying to hold it. We understand what this is. This is just an extension. But I think what she was saying, she's pointing out, which is why there are 5 of us, and everybody, really digs in and pays attention to, it's the diversity that we have here on the commission. She's asking for a report to come. We don't want to hold this one. We understand what this is. But it opens up this whole issue of underfunding to Commissioner DeLuca's. We don't really like using, temp agencies when we could be using our own people. And the other issue is, somehow or another, we've got to make the city council, we've got to make Matt Szabo, whoever it is. Our budget is quite unique. Of all the departments in the city, what we do is unique and different from everybody else. And so I think it is good, Commissioner Babcock, I'm glad you brought that up, for us to have these discussions in public. We are not, am I correct, you don't want this to be taken off?
No, I don't.
You want it to go forward?
Correct, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't want to hold up anything. I just wanted to, when looking through all of these items, and I know we haven't met in a while, I just wanted to bring those 2 up as a, again, I know it's not just one thing. It's just trying to connect the dots on everything and want to continue to move this forward. But $100,000 budget is laughable. I'm sorry about that. And like you said, it's, LA, the fire department is not the only department being impacted, but to the president's point, not that we don't care about the other departments, we do care about the entirety of the city, but the reality is of what this particular department is for the entirety of the city is quite impactful. So thank you for the clarity.
Yeah, and let me re-clarify, I shouldn't have said that. It's not that I don't.
No. I know what you meant.
don't
Yeah.
care about every department.
Yeah, of course. We're here to govern this department.
We're here to
Yeah.
govern this department. And so our every effort is going to make sure that we get the things that we need for the department that we're governing. So.
And I think we all understand that this is a citywide issue, right? The hiring, we've had a significant impact since COVID, where folks are not wanting to come into the office. We have a new generation of people coming in to be hired that look at the workplace in a different way. So it's also adapting to that, especially on these civilian positions. But hopefully they understand that there's a great Lacers pension on the other side of that if you work for the city of LA, and promoting these things to some of our folks that are coming up and wanting to be hired with an incredible department, but even a better city. So thank you.
Yeah, I think thank you to Commissioner Babcock for bringing that up. I think that's what we're seeing, Chief Dixon. I just want to make this point very strongly. We don't want to look up and find that the Los Angeles Fire Department bears the brunt of this, given that we've had, 9-10 years of being underfunded. That's all we're saying. We're not at all, I apologize for saying I didn't care about other departments. That wasn't a fair thing to say. But we govern this department, and the service that we need to provide to the city is going to suffer if we don't have people understand why we actually need more funding in these things that people don't pay attention to. So thank you very much, and
Madam President.
Thank you very much for coming.
Madam President, I just want to make one comment before. Like Commissioner DeLuca, I'm opposed to contracting out when it's union busting, but this particular kind of contracting out is a little different in that, for instance, I'll just use one department that I'm familiar with, and that's the brush clearance. It's a seasonal thing, and to hire somebody who would be there every day, all year long, would be a waste of our money to have someone doing that. But hiring people that are there for the season to do those phones and the things that brush needs is very important, because I don't know about other people, but I get a lot of calls from people about they're not answering the phones. I can't do this, I can't do that. So they've been working on increasing the number of people on the phones by using temporary people during the brush clearance time, which has been quite helpful. And so there's a difference between the contracts that we're talking about and the contracting out services that you and I have worked to oppose for many years. I just wanted to point that out.
I think this one is ongoing. This is ongoing work.
Well, it's because if you need somebody for 3 months now and 3 months over there and 3
Right.
months over there, it's all just.
Well, I agree with that, but this one sounds like it's an ongoing, it's just that we can't fill the positions.
Yeah.
So it's not
Yeah,
a
but
matter
it's-
of seasonal.
It's
Anyway.
kind of been around, temporary work like that.
It's not like the contracting out services that would last, would become a permanent job.
Right. With all that, I would like to move this item, unless there's more discussion.
Second. Second.
So we pulled it, so now we've got a motion to move it.
And second.
We've got a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. With the understanding that we're going to have a deeper discussion about this, Chief Dixon. Okay. Now we're going to move down to L, which we pulled. We are going to let this report, once again, we're going to let it go through. We just have some questions. Commissioner Babcock?
I'll just hear from staff first.
Good morning,
Good morning.
Madam President, Commissioners, City Family. First of all, I want to introduce myself. My name is Emilio Rodriguez. I am the Fire Administrator for the Fire Department. Been on board for about a month now, so it's a
Welcome.
pleasure to.
We did get a hire then, that's good.
Didn't you retired?
Sorry?
Emilio, did you retire?
No, actually, I've been working with a fire.
You were over here for years.
Correct, a good 7-8 years, and then went on to different opportunity and applied for the fire administrator, so I.
Now you're back. Well, welcome back. I'm glad to see you.
Thank you. So my thanks to Chief Saunders, Fire Chief Crowley, and, the fire department for giving me this opportunity. So very quickly to address our interim budget request, this is a focus on HR positions, and there's one for professional standards division. Speaking to the point of having adequate staffing for personnel and workday purposes, this request is precisely for that, to restore 6 positions on the HR end, which includes 1 senior personnel analyst, 2 personnel analysts, and 3 senior administrative clerks. The staffing is pivotal to providing personnel support to the department's over 3,800 sworn and civilian employees, with critical processes that include the processing of transactions for hiring, transfers and promotions, maintenance of personnel records, and all of the ancillary support that goes with managing a workforce, including reasonable accommodations, training, EEO issues, et cetera. So in addition to these core duties, the Human Resources Division is responsible for the additional workload brought on by Workdays, as you know, which is the city's new human resources and payroll system. Workday is being fully integrated to civilian timekeeping, but only partially on the sworn side, requiring weekly reconciliation with the department's NSS sworn timekeeping system. Because of this, Workday has required tremendous amounts of overtime and a shift away from our essential HR functions to meet the demands of processing hundreds of transactions that are pretty much occurring on a weekly basis because of our need to reconcile and transfer information to a whole new platform. So again, these 6 positions are being stressed to be restored in the current year specifically for that purpose. If you have further questions on that, be happy to answer.
This report says 7.
7, 1 position is for the Chief Special Investigator, which is on the Professional Services Division side.
Yeah, so let's remember that we keep that seventh one in there.
Yes, they're all
Stop
moving
saying
forward.
six.
But for, to address workday purposes, that's more the emphasis of the HR staffing.
Okay. I think, did I see your hand up down there? No? We're good? No. Okay, so now tell me what the challenges are in order for us to get these 7 civilian positions. Are there challenges? What are the choke points? Why are we not getting traction?
Well, this will move through the course of, Fire Commission, of course, and then from here on to the mayor and council, which will more likely request a CAO report on the matter. So that process will take us through, the next few weeks. Again, the CO will conduct their due diligence to, perform financial analysis on the positions and, advise the mayor and council on, their recommendation on the matter.
And who, are you the point person for us?
Yes, with regard to ASB, correct.
Okay. Because it seems to me that if we're having a problem here, I hate to call things problems, but if we're having a challenge here, we need to make sure that we know who our point person is, and we need to make sure that they understand the significance of these 7 positions as it relates to the running, which I heard you say,
Right,
of the Los Angeles Fire Department.
right.
So, in addition to us understanding that you're the point person, we need to make sure that we're kind of getting little tiny updates to find out whether there's been any movement. And we need to know what it is that the Fire Commission itself can do to join with you to make sure that our city council members understand it. I mean, it has to be more than just our fire chief who is talking about these things. We govern. And, if you go back and you look at the city code, it says that's what we're supposed to be doing, regulating policy, budget, that sort of thing. So I personally would, in addition to that we've put back in, I think we also need to, somebody needs to keep telling us where we are on L.
I'd be happy to do that through ensuing commission meetings.
Thank you. Okay. I don't have any other questions or requests. And
Madam President,
we don't
these-
need a big written board report. We just need to know where we are. You're saying that this should happen over the next, several weeks?
It's typically a process it takes a few weeks because we go through, again, it's referred to the council and mayor. The mayor will likely refer it for a CO report. They're kind of in the middle of getting kick-started on the budget process for 25-26, in addition to all of their other workloads. So there's competing priorities here. So I would imagine it being in the CO's office for a review for, a matter of.
What do you mean competing priorities?
Well, again, the budget process is coming up, and they have the financial status reports for the current year budget to also prepare, and, everything else on their plate. So, I'll keep pushing on my end to, see, emphasize priority on our end to get these positions back on our staffing roster, as early as possible this year. And we will make a repeat request to continue the authorities in the 25-26 budget process to get them back among our regular authorities.
Okay, so then maybe at the next commission meeting, you can just tell us where you are. If this is
Absolutely.
something that's going to take like 2 or 3 weeks, right?
Well, maybe in 2 commission meetings.
So it would be 2 commission meetings from now, where you could kind of tell us a little bit about whether we got 2 or 4 or none.
Or what we need to do.
I
Or what
would
we can
recommend
do?
at least 60 days to report back.
6 to 8 weeks?
60 days.
60 days.
Okay, well then,
So-
the next
December, maybe December.
commission,
yeah.
it won't be the next commission meeting, it'll be the commission meeting after that, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so if you can just come back and just tell us,
Yes, of course.
okay.
All right.
Chief Saunders, you were going to tell us something?
Yes, that these 7 positions are, we mentioned earlier about 74 positions that were cut. So these 7 positions are the first of 7, which we have had a drastic impact. So we've had some plenary meetings with the CAO as well as the city attorney's office, and definitely see the impact of these, and this is the first interim budget package to try to restore 7 of those positions back of the 74 that were cut.
Okay, that's something. We'll take it, huh?
Okay.
Motion to approve the report and adopt the recommendations in item 11.
I
I
second
mean
it.
L, item L.
A second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you so much.
I'll just stay on board for our next item.
And the next one, too.
I want to say thank you to Commissioner Babcock, who actually lifted this up so that we're all aware of it. Once again, I want to say that's why there are 5 of us. And that represents diversity of thought, which is a part of diversity. So
right.
thank you, Commissioner
Very
Babcock, for bringing that out and creating awareness. And thank you very much for sharing and explaining the process to us. And we'll see you in 60 days.
Well, except for now, he's right now up
What?
for, he's here for 7A also.
What are we doing about 7A?
We're coming to it next.
He's going to do the
After
same.
the
Oh.
The
consent.
next report.
He said he's staying.
Thank you very much. She's trying to confuse me. That brings us to,
Been a long break.
we do make fun of each other. That brings us to 7A, which are our regular agenda items, and we're going to have an overview of the adopted budget.
Thank you, Madam President. Just
Thank you.
kind of dovetailing into the same topic on, moving forward to next year's budget, 25-26.
Never left.
Well, actually, we'll be covering the current year budget that was adopted, took effect July 1st, with some discussion on 25-26. It's a pleasure to present the Fire Department's FY 24-25 adopted budget totaling $920 million. This amount consists of $819 million for the operating budget, which includes salaries and expense accounts, most of which is salaries on the sworn side, as well as $101 million in non-departmental allocations for MICLA, fleet replacement, facilities maintenance, and unappropriated balance allocations for various reimbursables to the general fund. Again, this was a difficult budget year for the city, with many general funded departments having endured significant budget reductions to align, primarily with declining citywide revenues and the competing citywide priorities such as homelessness, obligatory cost of living adjustments, and other broad-spanning obligations. LAFD was no exception to that dilemma, coping with a reduction of, again, at least 70 positions, which are mostly on the civilian side of operations. Overall, our budget decreased by 2%. In the world of fire, that's a significant cut. That's almost $18 million, which was also met with one-time reductions to our sworn and variable staffing overtime, and which impacts the department's special duty and training activities. In spite of these budget challenges, the department did have some significant wins. This would include $58 million for MICLA fleet replacement and expansion, which is a record amount actually over at least the past decade. Over the last several years, the department has only been receiving about half this amount for a periodic replacement of its apparatus and emergency vehicles. Another significant approval was recruit hiring, $13.6 million to fund 3 classes at the Valley Recruit Training Academy for a total of 220 recruits to keep up with attrition. There was $3.8 million for fire suppression frontline needs. This would include the Wildland Field Management Unit crew program for brush fire mitigation and firefighter turnout gear to ensure that we're able to provide 2 sets of turnout gear for every firefighter. There's $2 million to enhance EMS capacity in the field, including paramedic training and recruitment programs, and APRU staffing and sort of expanding coverage there. $2.7 million for human capital investment through our equity and inclusion and targeted recruitment initiatives. just over $500,000 for a Nexus study to explore development impact fee potential as a revenue source for fire facilities. And finally, $8.3 million for capital improvement needs across fire facilities, including EV charging infrastructure, ongoing repairs to stations, and ADA improvements for the Frank Hotchkin Memorial Training Center. A summary of the adopted budget and a more detailed listing of significant budget changes are included as attachments A and B of the report before you. And to conclude, our efforts to make the department's most critical needs whole do not end with this budget process. In additional efforts to balance LAFD's budget through recurring our financial status report process, we have prepared, again, interim budget requests to restore some of the most pressing staffing shortages with high impact value to the department, one of which we just discussed on our agenda. And as Chief Saunders had mentioned, there's a couple of others coming up, hopefully on our next agenda, to restore 22 positions for critical fleet maintenance support and harbor marine operations. Finally, we've begun our planning process for the FY26 proposed budget, which will really take momentum upon release of the mayor's budget policy letter, which usually occurs in late September. And we will be reporting on our preliminary recommendations based on information received from the various bureaus to the commission later this fall. That concludes my report. Be happy to answer further questions.
Hang on just one second.
What we're discussing is that none of us got this report until, at least I don't think, until like today.
Oh.
So through no fault of yours, I'm sure, but somehow, so I feel like it's too much information to digest just from hearing you say it. So we're going to find out if it's okay to hold this over and hear it like at our next meeting. This is file number 24073. It was not in our packet. And you didn't even get it today. So that's what I would recommend as we bring you back the next time when we've had a chance to really look this over.
I mean, that's totally fine. It's informational. There are no
No actions
recommendations tied
necessary.
to it, so I'd be happy to do that.
Okay.
So what we're saying is we want to carry this over. We want to hold it. We need to have a better discussion so that we can understand it, because I'm looking at these 7 positions that we're talking about, that we're trying to get back, right, which has to do with the budget. And then this 24085, which we've moved, and we're going to keep it moved. But then we have 6 positions in the Equity and Human Resources Bureau that we need to be concerned about. So somehow or another, we need to have a better understanding of 24073. So I'm going to recommend that we do not accept this receipt and file, but that we hold this over for a clearer, more in-depth conversation. Can that happen at the next meeting, or do you need more time than that? I'm looking at both you and Chief Dixon. Can this happen?
Yeah, we're fine with October 1st.
Okay.
At that time, there'll be 2 other reports coming forward with additional staffing restoration, so it's a good time
Okay.
to.
And just bring other people if you need to, so that we can understand this.
Right.
You've made a clear report. We just haven't had a chance to
Right.
read it. So nothing, no.
Yeah.
Nothing on you.
Yeah, we're not beating up on you. We just need more time, I think.
And Madam President,
ourselves
some
to
of us
read it.
didn't get that copy.
Yeah, see, and the other thing that happened was, I didn't get a packet at all this time, and 2 people got packets with the report missing, right?
I think we all had the report
So
missing.
you had it missing, and I think you
Nobody
guys
had it.
had it missing. So let's
All right.
hold this, come
Yeah,
back on the 1st
absolutely,
of
and we
October.
apologize for that.
Do we need
Okay.
a motion for that?
We don't need a motion.
Okay,
We don't?
We don't need a motion.
Okay,
carry on. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
right. That brings us to our oral update on the standards of cover.
But before you do that, I'm sorry, we just heard from Chief Moore that from the firefighter's wife, who's at West Hills Medical Center, the firefighter is coming home today. So, yay, thank you, Chief Moore.
Thank you, Chief Moore.
Good morning again, Commissioners. Madam President, Madam Vice President, congratulations on your reappointment. Looking forward to continuing to work with all of you. Good morning, colleagues and guests, Chief Saunders. My name is Tyler Dixon. I'm a Deputy Chief. Pleasure of serving as the Chief of Staff. I'm here to give you a verbal update on the efforts to implement the recommendations found in the Standards of Cover analysis and report provided to this body on May 31st in a board report describing the results and totality of a report provided by Citygate and Associates, which is a third-party contracted agency that performed a standards of cover analysis of the LAFD's deployment model. Standards of cover process is a process recognized by the International Association of Fire Chiefs to determine the appropriate levels of a fire department's fire and EMS deployment model in relation to appropriate response goals. This report that was provided to this body on May 31st, 2023, outlined a period of 2018 to 2020 in the standards of cover analysis. Citygate primarily focused on the EMS deployment and recommendations associated with bolstering the EMS deployment. They described that the number one challenge facing the LAFD is the high EMS volume. And they highlighted, based on their analysis, a daily occurrence of a cascading drawdown of emergency medical services units, followed by fire suppression units, to answer the high demand for EMS services throughout the city of Los Angeles, highlighting in particular 28 stations that have a high EMS volume, and the Citygate described these 28 stations to have the highest volume of EMS call load of any department they have analyzed throughout the United States. Citygate went on to make several recommendations, again focusing on EMS. They alluded to service gaps on the fire suppression side, but focused their recommendations particularly on the EMS side, alluding to additional needs for analysis on the fire suppression side. On November 7th, the 2023, the fire department provided a Board of Fire Commissioners report to this body recommending a 3-year tiered implementation to meet the recommendations outlined in the standards of cover analysis performed by Citygate. Overall, this report called for an addition of 376 new positions added to the fire department to supplement the current deployment model and shore up the need for additional EMS resources to meet the service demands, again, reminding from 2018 to 2020. In 2023, subsequent to the Citygate's standards of cover analysis, the fire department experienced a 9% increase in overall volume, both on fire suppression and EMS. So you are looking at, while there is a need for 376 additional positions to meet just the EMS demand associated with the years 2018 through 2020, we can already predict that there is an increased need for additional personnel above and beyond that to meet minimum response goals. Overall, the report provided on November 7th, 2023 outlined the need for additional EMS units, highlighting and agreeing with the recommendations from Citygate that not only were additional ambulances needed, both paramedic and EMT ambulances, but alternative EMS response units were needed, such as advanced provider response units, which are an advanced provider, either a nurse practitioner or a physician's assistant partnered with a firefighter paramedic that have a broader scope of practice than the traditional firefighter paramedic rescue ambulance. and fast response vehicles. These are light vehicles staffed by firefighters and firefighter paramedics with a small capacity fire pump for quick attack of small outside fires, patrol capabilities, as well as EMS response capabilities. Year one of the 3-year tiered implementation that was recommended or proposed in the November 7th, 23 report required 174 additional positions in fiscal year 24-25. The department made a request throughout our budget cycle for the 24-25 budget for these additional 174 positions to supplement the additional positions needed in the field, in addition to other positions needed for other supplemental activities from the fire department. This looked like increasing the hours of the current 5 advanced provider response units, adding 7 additional advanced provider response units, 2 fast response vehicles, 8 paramedic rescue ambulances, and 10 BLS rescue ambulances with corresponding appropriate overhead and supervision personnel. The report that you just heard in the previous item from the Commander of Administrative Services Bureau, Emilio Rodriguez, our fire administrator, and that this body has determined to bring back next meeting and have a further discussion with, only included the approval of 5 of the 174 requested positions. 5 additional advanced provider positions were approved for 6 months funding in fiscal year 24-25, as well as variable staffed overtime funding for 5 firefighter paramedics to be partnered with those advanced providers in a variable staffed model or overtime model. Again, with that approval of 5 additional positions, that's also in contrast of the 70 civilian positions that were deleted, vacant 70 civilian positions that were deleted in fiscal year 24-25. So the purpose of this report, this body has determined quarterly updates on the efforts to implement the recommendations found in the Citygate Standards of Cover analysis from 2018 to 2020. That brings us to the current fiscal year, where we have 5 positions added in the effort to add 376 additional positions. And the fire department will be returning in the next budget cycle to request appropriate positions to fully fund and fully staff the field to meet the incident demand, both on the fire and EMS side of our response capabilities. Happy to answer any questions the body may have.
With all due respect, and I'm not trying to be facetious, but are we all speaking English? When you go across and talk to these people, do they speak English? Is that the language that they speak?
Would you like me to respond, ma'am?
Yes, I would. I'm not being funny. If they speak English and we speak English,
Yes,
and we keep speaking in English these same things, I'm trying to understand what the problem is here. With all due respect, I am not being facetious. I don't understand what the problem is. When we talk to the CAO, when we talk to whoever we talk to in the budget subcommittee with the council, they are speaking English. We are speaking English. We are assuming that these people have the intellectual capacity to understand what we're talking about. With all due respect, I'm not trying to belittle anybody, but I am really having difficulty this morning understanding just exactly what the problem is. We're being asked to provide superior service. You're telling us that we can't get anybody to understand what the challenges are and why we can't continue to take these cuts and still keep the city safe. I am not disregarding the police department at all, but the Los Angeles Fire Department is the first responder. The police come after the fact. We go before the fact. And you're telling me that the EMS calls have gone up. You're telling me that they have swept 70 positions. We can't get 7 positions back. And I am clearly, as you can see, at this point, this morning, I'm really quite upset. And so we really need to have a real good strategy meeting between the commissioners and the department. Maybe it takes 7 of us to go and meet and talk with somebody. This is just unacceptable at this point, Chief Dixon. It really is. And so I don't know what we do, but I suggest that we have a plan. I'm suggesting that we get a plan that is a plan that just simply talks about budget. How do we all go in front of the city council or to the budget subcommittee or have the CAO come and talk to us? But we need a plan at this point going forward. And I'm hoping that maybe Commissioner DeLucas has some ideas. But we really do need we need a different plan. I'm looking down at this end too, but we need a plan.
I was just going to say, and I don't know if you want to respond in the meantime, but I just feel we really need to be sounding the alarm. And no, we cannot do more with less. We can't do the same with less. We can only do less with less. And that's just not an option. I mean, we pay for this wonderful report. The Standards of Cover is a fantastic report with really important recommendations. I just feel like we can't just go and have like normal, calm conversations anymore. We have to go and like scream and yell and say, this is an absolute 10-alarm fire.
Yep.
I mean, this is literally an emergency.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I don't want to wait. We need to, I feel, and maybe like the department's so used to being turned down. I mean, we need to be mad.
Yeah.
We need to be really mad and just go demand.
Yeah.
So I'm mad, you're
So-
mad,
so-
I think we're all mad.
So when you come back with this 24073, can somebody try to map out really a strategic plan about what we're going to have to, what we have to do about this? We can no longer accept this and be quiet and be respectful and do what we always say. Oh, okay, we can do it because that's the fire department way. Okay, we can do it. The bottom line is, we can't do it anymore. And just like the mayor declared, an emergency on homelessness, this is an emergency for the Los Angeles Fire Department, the health of the city, the way in which we are protecting property and lives, and then we're having to join when we know we're in fire season, and we've got, fires everywhere, which is what Commissioner DeLucas was talking about in her little tiny cabin. But at this point, I think the listening public, you in here, Chief Dixon, we're tasking you, we need a strategic plan on how we are going to be able to stand up and say, we cannot. We can't anymore just keep taking things on without getting more resources. We just have to have them, human and our equipment. We're past the breaking point. So whatever it takes, we have our city attorney here with us. Whatever's legal, Linda, for us to be able to join with them, because we govern. It is true, we don't run. But we need to know whether or not we can have a plan that says we are going to go to the city council, we're going to meet with the CAO, whatever it is. At this point, I am tasking you, we need a plan.
If I may, Madam President.
What?
We need a power analysis.
Yeah.
If I may, Madam President, a few comments based on your questions and your comments. First of all, thank you very much to this board for recognizing the men and women of Los Angeles Fire Department and what they do on a regular basis, day in and day out. And this board, through multiple reports from your fire department command staff and other members, have brought you to a point where you are understanding the situation that the fire department is in today. We've highlighted previously that between 2010 and 2020, this fire department experienced a 55% increase in call volume. That's 176,000 additional fires and EMS calls that this fire department responded to. Some of those are single unit dispatches. Some of those are major emergency fires where you have hundreds of firefighters working for numerous hours to protect the citizens of Los Angeles. And in that period of time, if you were to compare 2010 to 2020, the number of sworn staff in that period is neutral. It is the same number of firefighters, EMTs, paramedics, advanced providers, dispatchers, and inspectors providing the level of service at a higher volume, the same number of members at a higher volume. So first of all, thank you to the men and women of Los Angeles Fire Department for continuing to meet that need. You made a comment, Madam President, that we can no longer just make it work. And that is an unofficial motto of our people, and it's one of the reasons that people hold firefighters and EMS workers in such high regard, is that is what we do. We always make it work. It's never too difficult. But here, speaking for the administration, and I've heard Chief Crowley say this repeatedly in public, she's traveling today to an urban fire forum to advocate at a national level for appropriate policies at the national level for the fire service. And I've heard her say this many times in public settings and in private settings and in conversations with the commissioners here and conversations with electeds. The fire department is at a crossroads of a decision point of where we can no longer continue to manage this call volume with the resources we have. We need additional personnel. We need additional units. And the fire chief said it in the last budget cycle in her hearings, and she has started this budget cycle with her vision for this leadership is we will ask for exactly what we need to meet the demands for the city. No less, no more. Our objective here in the Los Angeles Fire Department is to continue to evolve to meet the needs that the public requests from us. And in a 12-year period, there was a 55% increase in the requests for service from the fire department, strictly on the response side. That also equates to additional needs on the administrative side, on the fire prevention side, on the maintenance side, on all of the other support mechanisms that the fire department has. So the plan, Madam President, is to work with this body, work with the electeds, work with the CAO, work with the mayor's office, who's represented here today, who's listening with us, is to continue to explain from the fire suppression and EMS leadership side the needs of this fire department to meet the demands of the public. And that's what it always goes back to, is to make sure that we are providing exceptional fire and EMS services to the public. And we will continue in each budget cycle to ask for what we need to accomplish that. And I'll just end on, again, I know I said this at the top, but if the men and women of the Los Angeles Fire Department are listening to this now or later, your administration, your fire chief, Chief Crowley, this board has articulated as well as your entire command staff here and our labor partners who are sitting here in this room. We thank the men and women of the fire department for continuing to meet the demand of the public day in and day out, while we're advocating for these additional needs in the next fiscal year and future fiscal years as we map out the future of the department.
Okay, so what I want to make very clear at this point is we are not jumping on you. I want to say that right out loud right this minute. We're not jumping on you. Here's what we're saying. We're done. We can't do this anymore. Whatever the plan is, we need to have a plan. If we all 7 need to go someplace, then we need to go someplace. We have to stop being nice about it. We have to stop saying we can do it. One of the things that the city needs to understand is if this fire department wasn't as efficient and effective and as well-trained as it is, we couldn't keep doing it. The city has seen no drop in the fact that we are there when we're needed to be there. We cannot keep doing that. And so we need to be able to say that. I am agreeing with Commissioner DeLucich, where we're angry. We don't understand it. So we need a plan. But we are not, Chief Dixon, jumping on you, and we are not jumping on Chief Crowley. These are not the people that we're jumping on. We need to have another way to be able to say as loudly as we can, we govern we do approve the budget. So we also have to bear some responsibility, because last year we sat here and we approved that budget. Instead of saying, no, we're not approving it, or figuring out with Linda what we should have done by saying, no, we're not approving this budget until these things happen. So I'm saying to you, on behalf of the commission, we're taking responsibility for that as well. And I'm not going to do that anymore. When I was the president of the school board, I want to tell you that one year I did not sign the budget. And they said to me, nobody in LAUSD is going to get paid. I said, I don't care. I just want you to know that I don't care. We need more money for classrooms. I don't know whether we can do that, with this body, but there has to be some way for us to say to people, either you're not paying attention, you don't speak English, your comprehension skills are poor, something, so that we can say to them, at this point, we are not going to be able to. Maybe we invite Mr. Szabo here. He's a CAO, right? So maybe we invite him, and we have him sit and listen to a presentation as we're listening to a presentation, so that when he's where he is, just kind of ticking off stuff and saying, I can go line by line and I can just tick this stuff off, maybe if he can hear, maybe that's the strategy. I don't really know what it is, but we can't have any real big cuts this year in our budget. I mean, that's really where we are. Am I right? Okay. So we're all agreed with that. So let's just, I don't know.
Madam President,
Go.
I agree with you. We're in scary times. I've said that to some people, and they look at me like, ooh. But anyway, I understand in the budget this year, there is money to study a bond going on the ballot. Okay. So when do we begin that study, and when do we begin that?
I don't know. What is the bond?
Because that would bring
it. Is it a bond for, I guess I haven't been paying attention. We're putting a bond on the ballot?
There's money in the budget. From what I understand, there's money in the budget to begin a study of putting a bond on the ballot for this year. The money is in the budget this year to study.
This year in the fire department's budget, we have a Nexus study. So we were funded some money to begin a Nexus study for a fire development service impact fee. So that is going to happen right now. That's happening with fire prevention as well as with our contract section to establish that piece in this year's budget. That was what was funded for the fire department.
Excuse me. Matt, do you know what Commissioner Woods-Gray is speaking about?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Come on. Come on.
I was told this by a city council people. I
But he's our
did not see
liaison,
it.
so he's going to tell us.
Because a bond is something, we almost need to have a bond.
Okay. Hi there.
Good morning. Morning, ma'am. Yes, I do. I do know what she's referring to. As Chief Saunders said, we do have money allotted to begin a Nexus study of assessing service impact fees, but it's just a study to determine the feasibility right now. Currently, I do not know the current status of where we're at, but I can definitely get back to you on that.
So can you come back and tell us that at the next meeting?
Yes.
Okay. So we need that to be on the, where did Chief Dixon, oh, there he is. Can you make sure that we get that on the agenda for the October 1 meeting so that Matt can come back and tell us where we are in that process? Is that what you're suggesting, that you can come back and give us a fuller explanation of where we are in that process?
I could, ma'am, but I could also defer to the person in charge of overseeing that Nexus study or that bureau that's handling it.
And
How
who
about
is-
if we let you
who is
handle
that?
that? Either you come back or you bring somebody with you.
Okay.
How about that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
And could we find out what the expected funds that would be generated from whatever you're looking at? I'd just like to know the details of it, because I've only heard from city council members there was money. I don't know.
So Matt, that's going to be a question that.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Dixon. Do you want closing remarks, or?
Go get 'em.
You want to, yeah, go for it.
General strike.
Yeah, just go for it.
I think we covered a lot of ground here associated with the efforts to implement the recommendations in the Citygate SOC. We covered some ground associated with the budget in general. Just thank you to the board for your support and your recognition of the hard work that the men and women of the LAFD do day in and day out to meet the expectations and the request for service from the citizens of Los Angeles, which is the entire reason for our existence. That's all.
The other person that I want to share with you, which I am so grateful for, is we have Elliot. I don't know whether everybody has met him, but he is a part of the deputy mayor's office. He's here this morning, so we know that we have ears that will be able to convey to Brian Williams, who we report to, who then reports to the mayor. Elliot, did you want to say anything? I mean,
I don't have anything to say right now, but I appreciate all of you guys and all the hard work the department and yourselves are doing. And we're here to support, listen, and
okay. So when you see Elliot, and he's like us, nosing around, the commission would appreciate, and I think it would be great for the department to make sure that Elliot gets as full a briefing as he can get when he is wanting to have information that he can take back to the deputy mayor in his capacity. Elliot is the newest member. Elliot, just kind of if you...
What's his last name?
What? Stand up, maybe, so everybody can just see you? So you know what he looks like? He's not some little undercover agent who's doing something nefarious. But if he can get as full a briefing as he can get on everything.
He has a last name is
EOPS.
Lane.
EOPS.
Lane, L-A-Y-N-E.
Everything. If he can just get those briefings, we then have another soldier who can go back with specific data, specific information, when he also is lobbying for the fire department. Elliot's portfolio is public safety, EMS, and fire. Is that right? Yes, ma'am. Okay. All right.
I move we adjourn.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.